Why letting it end feels like losing control. There is a moment when something could finally end. The conversation is over, the thought has already repeated enough, the emotion is no longer as strong. Nothing more is actually happening. And yet, something in you does not want to let it close. Not because it still needs truth, because ending it feels like giving something up. Control, access, protection. The sense that as long as it remains open, you are still involved. This is what makes ending so difficult. Not the event itself. The feeling that if you stop thinking about it, stop reviewing it, stop holding it open, you will lose your grip on it. And that loss of grip can feel dangerous. As if staying mentally engaged were the only thing keeping you safe. The mind says, if I let this go, I might miss something. If I stop checking, something important may slip away. If I stop holding it, I lose my position. This is the pattern. Letting it end does not feel like peace. It feels like surrender. And for a system used to staying mentally involved, surrender does not feel soft. It feels exposed. That is why so many things remain open inside you, long after life has already moved on.
What makes this pattern so persuasive is that staying involved feels responsible. You tell yourself that you are being careful, that you are not ignoring it, that you are not being naive, that you are not dropping something before it is fully understood. But often, what is being protected is not understanding, it is tension. Tension gives you the feeling that you are still connected to what happened, still alert, still engaged, still holding some kind of position. If the tension fades, the mind can feel as if it is losing contact, and losing contact can feel like losing control. This is why release can feel suspicious. The moment something starts becoming quieter, part of the system moves back toward it. Not always for truth, sometimes just to keep it active. Because what stays active still feels manageable, still accessible, still under watch. But what truly ends can no longer be managed in the same way. It has to become past. And that is exactly what the mind resists. Not only the pain, the finality.
This is why letting something end can feel heavier than keeping it open. If it stays open, part of you can still believe you are doing something, still watching, still protecting, still involved. But if it ends, that role disappears. Now there is nothing left to monitor, nothing left to mentally hold in place, and that absence can feel deeply uncomfortable for a mind that learned to equate engagement with safety. This is the hidden tension. The thing itself may already be over, but ending your involvement with it feels like stepping out of a structure that used to organize you. As long as it remains active, you still know where to place your attention, what to think about, what to protect against, what to revisit, what to keep alive. That gives the system a strange kind of order. Painful, perhaps, but ordered. And when that order starts to dissolve, the mind can feel more exposed, not less. That is why ending does not always feel like relief. Sometimes it feels like losing the last thread that kept the whole experience psychologically contained.
This is why the mind often mistakes continuation for strength, as if holding on meant you are still in control, as if staying mentally connected meant you are not vulnerable. But often the opposite is true. The longer something stays open without needing to, the more authority it keeps over you. It continues shaping attention, mood, interpretation, inner posture. Not because it is still alive in reality, because you are still giving it space in the present. This is the pattern to notice. Not only that ending feels hard,
but that keeping it open creates the illusion of protection, as if your continued involvement were preventing loss, when often it is only preventing completion. The mind says, just a little longer, one more thought, one more check, one more return. And each small return keeps the structure from fully closing. That is why letting it end can feel so unnatural at first. Not because ending is wrong, because the system has learned to treat mental continuation as safety.
What makes this even harder is that ending something does not only remove pain, it also removes occupation. As long as the thing stays open, part of your mind still has somewhere to go, a place to return, a place to think, a place to re-enter when the system wants structure. That matters more than most people realize. Because an open loop does not only hold discomfort, it also gives attention a role. It tells you what to revisit, what to hold, what to keep alive. And when that role disappears, something else appears underneath. Space. Not peaceful space at first. Unstructured space. A kind of inner emptiness that can feel unfamiliar, even wrong. This is why closure can feel less like relief and more like disorientation. Now there is nothing left to do with the thing, nothing left to check, nothing left to maintain, nothing left to keep psychologically active. And for a mind used to staying involved, that absence can feel like losing ground. So it returns, not because the issue still requires it, because the ending left behind a silence the system does not yet know how to inhabit. This is why people can keep something alive long after they are tired of carrying it. Not because they still want it, because ending it would remove a familiar inner function. The mind would have to stop circling, stop checking, stop returning, and then something uncomfortable would become visible. How much of your inner movement had started organizing itself around what should already be over? That is a difficult thing to feel, because now the issue is no longer only the event, it is the structure you built around keeping it open, a structure of return, of vigilance, of mental involvement. And once that structure exists, letting it end does not feel like losing a thought. It feels like losing a way of holding yourself together. This is why the final step can feel strangely emotional. Not dramatic, but deep. You are not only releasing the thing, you are releasing the version of yourself that stayed occupied by it. The version that kept watch, kept returning, kept holding on so that nothing would fully disappear. And when that version loosens, the mind can feel unguarded, as if dropping the issue meant dropping protection. But often, what is being dropped is not protection, only continuation, only the habit of staying mentally linked to what no longer needs your participation. That is the threshold, not between pain and peace, between staying involved and letting the structure that involvement created finally go quiet. Once this becomes visible, something begins to change. Not because the pull to stay involved disappears immediately, but because it is no longer confused with responsibility. You begin to see that keeping something open does not always protect you. Sometimes it only keeps you psychologically tied to what is already finished. That realization matters, because now letting it end is no longer the same thing as losing control. It becomes something else. The willingness to stop generating continuation where reality has already stopped. The event may still be remembered. The feeling may still return. The old urge to check one more time may still appear. But now, another possibility is present. Not reopening. Not because the moment was unimportant, because it is over.
And once the mind stops treating ending as danger, something softens. Attention no longer needs to keep circling to feel safe. It can leave. And when it leaves, what was being held open finally begins to go quiet. This is inner cognition,